Yo, Nico here. I went to a conference and I got really full. So some of the content that I have for you guys comes from this conference. I didn't come up with this phrase, so I'm not going to take credit for it. The guy's name is Chris Crump. And he's who I heard it from. He was one of the speakers of the conference. And he said, "It's not my fault. It is my responsibility." Profound statement if you really think about it. If you really think about what that means, it's a profound statement. It's not my fault, but it is my responsibility. He was talking about in regards to his role as a father, as a husband, as the provider of his household. I aspire to be in that position one day. I want to have some things sorted out before I step into that role. One of those things is a business that is generating cash passively. Right? It's an ideal situation, may or may not happen before I step into the role of fatherhood and husband. My goal is to make it happen. Way that I can currently apply that in my life, though, is with my business. It's not my fault that individuals don't have a role model. It is my responsibility to provide a good role model to follow. It's not my fault that society promotes negative ideals and principles. It's not my fault that those around me in my community choose to overdrink, choose to become intoxicated with substances. It is my responsibility not to fall into that path again. It's not my fault that I had an adverse child experience. It is my responsibility to not let that child experience come into adulthood. It's not your fault that you had some stuff happen to you that was intolerable, unbearable, dramatic, and disgusting maybe. It's not your fault that it happened to you. It is your responsibility to move past it, though. '23 is a year for us to be free of any type of vices, free of any type of time suckers, free of any type of busters, quite honestly. So busters are people who are busted out and want to make you busted out with them. They're doing the exact same thing that they've been doing for the past 5 years and expect some different results. That's a buster. I don't get down with them. A buster is somebody who doesn't align with your values, your core values, your standard, your definitions of sober, of what a man is. Woman, if you're a female. Because I know I got some female listeners out there. It's not your fault that somebody else didn't teach you these. It is your responsibility to pass them along. And it's not your fault that the abuse happened to you. It is your responsibility to ensure that you heal yourself so that that abuse doesn't repeat itself down the road. It's not your fault that you were abandoned or rejected. It's not your fault that you're criticized all the time. It is your responsibility to change your thought process and perspective around it. It's not your fault that you're angry and frustrated most of the day. It is your responsibility to manage that anger and frustration in a way that it doesn't negatively impact those you claim to love. It doesn't impact those who help give you a paycheck to take care of those you love. It's not your fault that society doesn't give you the social status that you believe that you should have. It is your responsibility to claim that societal status, whatever it may be. It is your responsibility. It's not your fault, but it is your responsibility. When the man said that, I felt a gut punch. Because I did not see that there's some things that I still was not taking responsibility of. And I got to change that. There's areas in my life that I'm still not as responsible as I should be. I still blame it on, it's right now currently my biggest fault. It's not my fault. It's not my fault that I have pain in my hips. It is my responsibility to make sure that that pain doesn't ever come back. It's not my fault that I felt rejected all the time growing up, but it is my responsibility to make sure that I accept myself and I love myself for who I am. I got gut punched because I realized that I was still blaming it on someone and saying it's their fault, so they gotta fix it, right? It's not. It's my responsibility. I must act the way that I want it to be, not the way that it is. And that's difficult, quite honestly. But I'm blessed with the opportunity, and I get to navigate it. For me, that means that I get to draw closer to my God, Jesus. Because I don't know how to do this stuff, quite frankly. I don't know how to take responsibility for things that aren't mine, but my God will show me how to do it. If you believe in a higher power, leave it up to your higher power. It's our responsibility to bring it to that higher power and ask them to help us. Whoever's yours may be, ask them to help. It's not your fault that you had trauma, but it is your responsibility to move past it, leverage it, and make sure that someone else doesn't have to feel that same pain, because you're not the only one that goes through it. We must be intentional, right? So can we be intentional about taking responsibility for one area, even though it's not our fault? It might be as simple as, it's not my fault that the bathroom's clean. It's not my fault that the bathroom's dirty. It's not my fault that the kitchen's a mess. But it is my responsibility to live in a clean place, so I'll clean it. It's not my fault that these kids are acting wild. It is my responsibility to provide an example on how to conduct themselves. May not be my fault, but it is my responsibility. What will you take responsibility of? It's not your fault that you didn't have a perfect life. It is your responsibility to do better today. It's okay to have no halo.